Hi, my name's Mark. I wanted to do a follow-up video. About 4.5 years ago, I had gotten film of my dad dying. It was accidental film taken from the network cameras, and it showed him as he died. I held his hand and sang a song to him, and it showed an orb exiting his body. There's been a lot of controversy on the comments on whether that was real or not. I just wanted to talk to everyone and say it was never altered. That's the actual footage. In the last year or 6 months, I believe my dad has gotten very active in being able to send us signs, and that's what this video is about. The many signs my mom has received, as well as Mary and I. And so that's what this video is about, and toward the very end of the video, there's some amazing footage that we recorded on our own network camera here in Kansas City of orbs and of an entity. It's the best orb video that I've ever seen. So here's Mom to talk about it. So this is how the picture fell off. This was how long? About a week after Dad died?
A week or two. It's probably a couple of weeks after he died before.
And you went out of town.
Went out of town.
You visited Sandy, and because you had the whole house closed up.
It was no one was here, and Sandy and I came back in the back door, and this Jesus sign, which was up here on the wall with this picture above it, was down here, laying down here. I think it was face up.
It might have been. I remember that Dad's picture was always behind that Jesus sign.
Yeah, it was behind it. And then his picture was also, not this heavy frame and everything, the other little smaller picture, that also was down, and it was not like this. It was face up.
Face up, but it was just the photograph before it was framed, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't framed then.
Okay. And this was it's funny that this is the thing, the Jesus sign, that if you look at it funny, you can see it's Jesus, but not, so. That was flat, and Jesus' sign must have pushed Dad off the shelf. And there wasn't any wind. It was closed up, because you always close up your house when you leave.
Absolutely. No one was here. It had to be Joe. It was Joe coming to, maybe he didn't want me to leave that weekend. No.
Or maybe he just wanted to tell you that he's here with you all the time.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of connections. I've had birds come in.
Yeah, talk about the birds, because I just found out that when people die, the birds they make them go into the windows.
And all of a sudden, even though I have a lot of birds out there, one will just hit this window right here in the kitchen, and then might be an hour or two later, and another one will hit the front door. I don't know who does that. You think it's Joe too?
Well, I've heard some of the people that are psychics. They say that's a sign
that
the person has passed, that they can control the birds. And you've never had birds. I mean, I think about my life. I've never had birds just fly into the window very often.
Oh boy, they do, honey. They've flown in more than twice.
But just since Dad died,
yeah,
right?
Since Dad died.
Growing up, we never had them fly in.
Never, honey.
And you never hear about it.
And the strange part, they even do the front. Here I do feed them out there, so that makes a difference. The turtle doves are out there.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's a turtle dove or what, but it might have been, because it's bing, bang.
Well, you have a lot of redbirds, and redbirds are kind of a sign of someone who's passed.
Yeah, I've got a lot of redbirds. Maybe it's the redbirds.
Up in Kansas City, I have a redbird that has hit my window so many times. I even have a video of it. I'm gonna include, but
anyway, we've had lots. He's come down a lot of times. He's with us all the time, I think.
I think so too.
He's just let us know once in a while. Love him dearly. It's been 4 years.
4.5 almost, yeah, since it was February in 2018.
Mm-hmm. 4 years in February. We had our anniversary yesterday.
Uh-huh.
We would have been married 70 years.
70 years, wow.
We made it to 66.
66 or 67, I think I posted it somewhere in the video, yeah. And you really had your time to say goodbye, since he was...
I did. I miss him, but not to the point where, like, just dropping dead suddenly.
Yeah.
And we said goodbye, and he wasn't with me mentally,
Okay.
towards the end, and that was hard. It was
Yeah.
hard for him and hard for me, but we said our goodbyes early. We'd always sit on the bed and say the rosary on his bed.
Yeah.
I've got that rosary. I've got that he said the rosary with me.
I got one recording of that,
Yeah, one
actually.
record, and he would fall over at the end. You could tell he just couldn't, he
'Cause
couldn't
he's so
finish
sleepy.
the rosary. God
Yeah,
love him.
yeah.
He wanted to so bad, but it all worked out just fine. God took him peacefully.
And you dream about him too, don't you?
Yes, but not as often as I thought I would.
Okay.
It's strange, and I think, well, do I not miss you, Joe? I do miss him, but it's in a different way. I grieved while he was going.
Yeah, and you had, right after he died, I remember you spent 2 or 3 hours in the bedroom there, and you really had your time
Yeah, I did then, yeah.
to grieve, and then, yeah.
And
And I think he's with you all the time. If you're
I hope he
one of
did.
the medium, she said when you fall asleep, when Dad said, "I'm with her when she falls asleep,"
Yeah,
and
he
then
is.
takes you off places.
I pray every night for him. He's in heaven. I know he is.
He is.
It's just a little spirit that has time to come down.
He is. He has time and energy now.
He does, so.
And I also want to talk to you about the of gloves. I know that's kind of a weird thing.
That just drove me up the wall. I mean, I still to this day do not know who put those gloves on my kitchen cabinet.
Let's tell the story a little bit, because I was downstairs.
All right. You were downstairs and you came up with your ice cream dish and you set it right there.
Okay, and it's about 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
And I should have put it in the sink, but I didn't, so I put it right there in the corner.
Mary didn't come in. She was here too, wasn't she?
Yeah, she got up later and was getting some milk, and she saw the ice cream bowl, and she
was the one that put it in the sink.
put it in the sink. Yeah.
I got up the next morning, 6:15 as I always do. Lo and behold, this pair of the gloves are here.
I brought mine.
This pair of gloves were laying here. There's no ice cream dish, nothing else, just this pair of gloves. To this day, I don't think, Joe, you sent these to me, because they're not even clean. I don't know where they came from. Okay.
It is odd, and they're used, right? You can smell them.
Yeah, they're you. Yeah,
They smell kind of musty or something.
Yeah.
And you have oven gloves, but those aren't yours at all.
They're not, because Karen gave me the oven gloves. They're not mine, and we asked my kids, grandkids, if they came over through the night. Nobody could have come in through the night.
And your doors are locked.
They were locked. There's nobody that would have come in. Eric, he would not have come in the morning
No.
and put these gloves here.
No.
To this day, we do not know.
And they weren't at the river, because they're lined, and you don't have any lined gloves.
And they're lined with a
It's like has a
rubber.
Yeah, so it says you can spill things on it and it won't burn through. So that's a special kind of glove that I've never really seen, and you don't own.
I have no idea, and you still don't know where they came from.
No, and they truly just appeared during the night.
It blows your mind.
It does.
But it does.
Mm-hmm.
I
Some
can't-
mysteries we're not
we
going to
don't
get to the bottom.
understand. I don't think Joe's spirit would have carried these in here. They're kind of heavy.
You don't think you could lift them?
I don't think you can lift them as a spirit. I don't know.
Well, maybe they have some special meaning. I don't know.
Evidently they did, but we got them.
Yeah.
And then you all took them back to Kansas City, and you brought them back this time.
Yeah, because I just wanted to show
Yeah.
where they were, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of explaining all the things that Dad has done.
He's done this. Somehow he's done this.
Yeah.
But what was his reason for this?
Well, my theory is that it's a symbol of when we come into a lifetime, you put your hand in a glove. Your hand is like your soul. And so when you come into a lifetime, you put your glove on, and then
These are so nice to get inside too.
and then you use that to help people, like helping hands.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't burn yourself. No matter what happens to your body, the glove is your body. And so whenever you're done with this lifetime, you just slide the glove off and go up to heaven. And your hand doesn't ever get burned down here.
I hope it's that easy for me.
I think it is, Mom.
I pray to God it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Well, those are good stories, and I've got some more to tell too. So, any other ones you want to say?
Oh, not right now, Mark. jumped on me all of a sudden.
I know. That way you don't have to prepare about it.
I wasn't prepared, worried about this.
I'm just amazed at how well you're doing the last 4 years. And I look back on the video I posted, all the people praying for you.
I know.
I mean, there's so many of those comments that they're sad, but they don't understand that Dad was ready to go. But
he definitely was. And just seeing his spirit go up to heaven, he showed me that again.
Yeah.
Video of it.
It's meant a lot to a lot of people, just the fact that...
How many have you...
There's almost 11 million people that have viewed it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and there's so many comments. There's thousands and thousands of comments about it. I can't read them all, but there's just so many heartfelt comments that it means something.
How much good you and Dad
Yeah, well, they understand what it's like to die, and then they're comforted that our spirit goes on. And I just happened to walk in there to help him, but
you were there in time.
Just the fact that I was there caring for Dad at the end, that impresses me.
And I wish we could understand the song. What'd you say? Amazing Grace?
It was Amazing Grace. Yeah.
It didn't sound as you sing it. Well, anyway.
Well, I didn't even think about it being recorded at the time.
I know you didn't, sweetheart.
And I was talking about all the relatives that they could welcome into heaven.
Those I recognize.
Yeah, Jeanette and everybody had passed.
Such a beautiful, beautiful ending.
Yeah.
Hope you're there when I go.
I am going to be there.
You promise?
Yes, I promise. I'm already planning it. And with a little luck, I'll be able to go onto the other side a little bit and see what it is. If I get in the right...
I hope I get in the right side, honey.
You are going straight to heaven, Mom.
Oh, God only knows. Mark, you don't know that. God only knows that.
God knows that, but you've lived such a good life. There's no way you're going to...
I mean, look at the family I have, my children. I mean, that's why I've had a good life.
Due to the love that you've given your family, yeah.
I've been very fortunate.
Had a blessed life.
We all have.
And you've had 4.5 years of people praying for us. It's wonderful.
So many. Oh, thank you, Mark. I love this.
All right. Well,
God bless.
Glad we have this history.
Me too. Thank you, dear.
Bye.
Bye, honey.
In Kansas City, I've gotten a bird, and it's usually a red bird, to hit the window so many times, probably over 50. And it even happens sometimes when we're camping in a different location. And this has only started happening since probably within the last 6 months or a year. This is one I managed to get up in time to grab some footage of. And you can see it just keeps pecking at the window like it's flying in. Usually they just hit the window and leave. But this one keeps pecking at the window like it's immediately going in and wants to get in. It's just amazing how many times this has happened, and this is the one time I've got the footage of that. I wanted to talk a little bit more about all the different things that I believe has happened at our house, and I believe that Dad has caused. And there's quite a few of them. I know it's not as interesting just hearing about the reports of them, but some of them happen spontaneously, and they can't all be videoed. The biggest one is where I'm at right now is our second TV downstairs. It has never had a problem turning itself on. The whole time we've had it, we probably had it 4 years, 5 years. And just within the last month, there's been 8 separate times that the TV turns on. And it's at odd times too. It's usually early in the morning as I'm just getting up. I usually meditate in the morning. And then it also happens just about the time that I'm going to bed at about 11 o'clock, and there may be some type of different state that I'm in. We've tried taking the remotes and pointing them in the other direction. We've also taken the batteries out of the remote, and it still has been able to be turned on. The only way to get it to stop during that period of time is to actually unplug it. It's not continuous. It's only when we're kind of working on some of these things and thinking about and talking about my dad over those days. And then recently it just stopped. So it just seems like it's a real thing that unexplained. I know sometimes electronics foul up, but just not that many times, and then for it to happen and then to stop. Another thing is that when we're upstairs, a different TV, there's a way to change the input, and it's a specific button, and it has to be arrowed down and then selected. So as we're watching TV, the input has changed to HDMI 2. And Mary and I are watching TV, and I looked at her, and just as I'm picking up the remote, not knowing why it changes back to TV. Never done that before, and it hasn't done it since. It only happened a few weeks ago. The lights on top of the stairs, they've gone on. We've seen them flicker, but then we've left the room and come back, and they're on. It's all unexplained. We have a dimming light. It's kind of a network light, and it can be different colors, and it can be different brightnesses. We've had that for 10 years, and it's never, ever spontaneously done it. We were sitting in the living room, and it was a bright white light, and it changes to 50% and turns to blue. No explanation. Nothing wrong with any of the inputs from the echo dots. I searched the history, and there was no statement that could have been misinterpreted. There's nothing on our voice history. And a couple nights later, at about 11 o'clock, and I was about ready to go to bed, it went from 100% white down to 50% white, down to 25% white. Separate stages, all about 2 or 3 seconds apart. And then immediately it went up to full brightness and then turned off. It's not a malfunction. It hasn't done it since. I believe that somehow Dad has learned to manipulate infrared waves, possibly even pushing buttons. And he has been able to manipulate things on the echo dot. So maybe sound waves. We're not really sure about that. And within the last 2 or 3 months, we've heard a crashing sound in the kitchen area. Mary heard it one time and she thought I had fallen, and the exact same thing happened to me when she was in her bedroom. Loud crashing sound. And we run into the kitchen thinking we're going to find something on the floor, hopefully not one of us on the floor, and there was nothing. It's never happened. It's happened 3 times in the last few months. I've already talked about the birds, the cardinals hitting my window, and then lastly is my echo. And there's a way to program the echoes. Amazon has done this about a year ago, that it would listen for certain sounds, and then you could program a routine or a response, whatever you wanted to do. It would be a trigger. One I think was a dog barking, a baby crying, snoring, and the one I picked that I think was less likely to trigger was the sound of water. And my bedroom is far away from the bathroom, and this response has been triggered 100 times, and it's happened when I've been thinking about Dad, planning about Dad. And it happens in the morning when I wake up, when I'm in that in-between state, and also in the evening when I'm just about ready to fall asleep. So I think it has something to do with mental energy when I'm in that state. And I'll play it. So there's no water in the room. Many, many times there's no water being poured. It's just, I believe, him triggering it. And then other times I get busy and it doesn't trigger for weeks. But it'll trigger multiple times when we're working on a project or talking about Dad. So this is the sound I programmed Echo to make. This is the Echo dot that sits by my bed, and this is how it's supposed to respond when it hears the water being poured.
Hi, Mark, this is your father. Don't forget to keep interested in talking to me and inventing devices and techniques. I'm always here for you.
So there's obviously a delay, but I programmed that so if Dad wanted to send me a message with triggering a water sound that he could. And he's been very active doing that. Periodically, I go to a evidential medium. I usually go every year or every other year. So this was a portion of a recording that I had about a year ago in which Dad came through clearly and stayed through the whole session. It's been edited for time for just the important parts, but this is an excerpt from the Evidential medium.
Okay, he says, "Hey, I'm here."
All right.
And I know it. I know it's your dad. He said he's been waiting for you to come, and he wants to tell you that there's some other places that you need to be taping. He wants you to tape somewhere you guys stay.
Has he been doing some of the signs? I always wonder, like Jesus jumping off the shelf. Or is that just random?
No, he's doing them. He's definitely doing signs. He just looked at me and says, "I'm trying to show him every way I can that I'm there."
How about the lights out in California?
Yes, and there's something with lights or something where you're at right now too that's happened. He said it's the best to knock things off the shelves.
Because I don't always notice unless I hear it.
Yeah.
And he's probably done that on his picture too before.
Yep. He's telling me it was more than one thing. So you're not just the Jesus jumping off the shelf. It's not just that.
Is it hard to do that and learn how to do that? And why doesn't that happen more often, Dad?
He says it is hard. He said the person in my position has to want them to know they're there. And he said some of them just don't create that energy to let the other person know they're there. He said, "I know you guys like this." That's funny.
And you always thought it was goofiness, didn't you, Dad?
Yeah, he did. I was going to say he knows now that it's not goofy.
Uh-huh.
He said that your animals see him also. So, because I'm watching heads turn as he walks by. That's
Cats
funny.
did watch and see things.
So he said everyone gathered at first. And he said, and then I see them, but not all the time. And he said he spends a lot of time here.
Here where?
Around you guys.
Okay.
He spends a lot of time here. And he said, I don't have to. I just want to.
With me or with Mom or all of us, family?
Everyone. I didn't feel like there was one. It felt like he was moving all around.
Okay.
So he's saying, your dad's saying, I can't believe how much he's been in here. He's saying that not all of them know how to use the energy to communicate.
Okay. Even to speak right now.
Even to speak right now,
Okay.
They're not real sure what to do. And maybe it's because they didn't know, they didn't dabble in any of this. They didn't,
Right.
See, your dad's telling me he would have been lost had he not seen you do your goofiness.
Oh, that.
But he said your grandpa figured it out right out off the bat when he got over there. But he wanted to communicate, so he...
Yeah.
So when he does he just flicker the lights usually?
And in California, the funny part, it was both lights were on the same switch. And one of the lights went out, and then we told Mom, and we were like, Dad, if it was you, turn it back on, and it went back on again. And then 3 times it did it. It went
that's
back out
cool.
again. And I went and checked the switches. And,
I know.
Yeah.
You're like, did this really happen
Yeah.
like this, or what's going on?
that's a real unusual way to do it if you can control just one light on a
Right.
circuit.
Right.
So that took some magic there.
It did. That takes some moxie to be able to do it. But he's figuring it out. So maybe him thinking you were goofy all your life, at least he listened.
Yeah.
You know?
He never ruled anything out. That's what I like about
Right.
your dad. You always had the possibility.
That's fun that he came in this morning to tell me he was coming.
He likes to be kind of formal. And
Yeah, he does.
Make
He's
sure
like,
things are set up.
letting you know I'm going to be here. And I'm like, who are you for? He said, Mark. And I said, okay.
Nice.
And then I didn't feel him again. Then when Mary came in, I said, some guy's been here for Mark. And she goes, oh, I hope it's his dad. And I was like, I think it is his dad.
This is the footage that was taken from our network video camera. The first part lasted 1 hour and 42 minutes. And this is just a 3 or 4 minute portion, not necessarily the best part, but a part that demonstrates the movement. I don't want to talk all the way through this. I don't really want to narrate a lot, but as you can see, there appears to be a ribbon that there's an orb on each end that seems to be able to control it. And the one down to the left, a lot of times when the orb's in the middle on that line, like a frontier to another dimension, I don't know what it is. It's almost like that Star Trek, the Nexus. It's an energy line, I guess. And as you see the orbs go down through the portal on the left, sometimes they even get brighter. And if you can zoom, sometimes the portal on the left will almost have like a donut hole as they go through. And the one on the right near the ceiling, it goes out of frame a lot of times, up and down. But this is all unaltered, and I didn't catch it until I just happened to the next day review this camera footage that we had. We didn't always have a memory card in it. And it erases in 2 or 3 days, so I just happened to look at it. I don't do it on a regular basis. It's a different type of orb appearance than I've seen in any other video, mainly because it's a fluid line. The one on the right it's almost like a jump rope. It can go up or down, and the orbs in the middle follow it. And it's also interesting that the orbs in the middle move independent of each other. Sometimes they move as a group, almost like a wave. Reminds me of an ocean wave, back and forth sometimes. And other times they can move independently. And as you can see, they change in intensity. But always on that frontier, that energy ribbon line. And this was continuously for 1 hour and 42 minutes, an amazing length of time, just not an anomaly. And I just can't think of any other explanation besides some type of, I don't know if it's spirits, orbs. It's up to you to decide what these orbs mean. But I don't think there's any explanation in normal context of this dimension. So there's going to be long periods of quiet. I didn't record any audio with this footage. Either that I'm not able to retrieve it. So I'll just mute the mic. You can fast forward it if you happen to get bored. This is about a 7-minute segment. And toward the last 2 minutes is an entity, absolutely unexplained entity. And I'll talk a little bit when that comes. Hello. As you can see, this is the entity that crawled from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. It's a strange looking entity, I know, and I don't know what it is, of course. Because it looks like an upside down spider. I think there's a little bit of fear on it, but I think that's unwarranted. And here as it stays away from the camera, it obviously crawled up the same energy ribbon. You can look closely and you see arms or tendrils or maybe even wings come out and motion. If it was a human thing, it would be motioning come here. So I don't know what this is. It stayed for 33 minutes and it gradually moved up into the corner. I'm just not including all the movement up in different places. It migrated to almost the very top of the ceiling. And now is going to be the last frame where it exits. I've noticed on some devices when you watch the orb exiting down and through the floor, you sometimes aren't able to see it up above. It's actually out of frame. You may, if you're having this problem, you may try it on a different device or even on a computer. And now it's at the top of the screen and it will shortly exit. And just notice immediately how it exits and goes into the floor or goes down after being stationary, virtually stationary for half an hour. It moves slightly within a few feet. So I'll just let you observe the exit. Mary and I and my dad will continue to research and explore these paranormal events. We are purposeful in setting our intention to only connect with spirits of love and light and helpful cooperation. Please subscribe to be notified of any ongoing events and observations we experience, and we will post these to YouTube as they happen. Mary is an excellent natural channel, and we do plan a video in the future on her possible connections with relatives who have passed away. I believe the veil between worlds has begun to be lifted, and I think this is because people are more open to the truth and they're less afraid and they're less likely to label anything that they don't understand as less likely to label it nowadays as evil. We thank you for watching and we leave you now with gratitude, love, and light, a light that shines brightly in your hearts and throughout your entire lives. Thank you.